Okay, let's unpack this. When you think about boosting your brain power, what's the first thing that springs to mind? Maybe some intense mental exercises or that second cup of coffee, perhaps. Maybe even a memory supplement. Most of us are right there with you. But what if I told you that recent science is revealing a surprising and often overlooked connection? A link between your brain and, believe it or not, your gut. I have to admit, that caught me off guard when I first, looked at the sources.
It's true.
Yeah.
It really is. What we're diving into today is often called the gut-brain axis. It's this astonishing, constant, and incredibly complex bidirectional communication system. It runs between your entire gastrointestinal tract and your central nervous system.
Wow, bidirectional.
Exactly. And the surprising part is just how much your digestive health might be quietly influencing your memory, your mood, your mental clarity, probably far more profoundly than you ever thought possible.
Right. That's why this deep dive is so crucial, I think. Our mission here is to explore this often forgotten link between, well, gut health and brain performance. We've looked at a bunch of sources, pulled out the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight, and we're ready to share some, honestly, truly surprising facts and some really actionable insights with you. So to really get a handle on this, where do we even start to understand this gut-brain axis? What are the core elements? How does this connection actually work?
It is a truly intricate system, a real marvel, actually. First, you've got the vagus nerve, which really acts like a direct superhighway.
A superhighway.
Yeah, facilitating communication between the gut and the brain. Think of it as the main data cable, basically. Then you have the gut microbiota.
The bacteria.
Exactly. The trillions of bacteria, fungi, other microorganisms living in your digestive system. They play a huge role. They're like these tiny residents constantly sending signals up. And finally, there are neurotransmitters.
Okay, like serotonin.
Precisely. And what's fascinating here, truly fascinating, is that most of these neurotransmitters, including those vital feel-good ones like serotonin, dopamine, GABA, they're primarily produced in the gut, not the brain.
Wait, really? Not the brain? That's a huge misconception for most people, isn't it?
It really is a very common one.
So we're talking about a massive paradigm shift here. The very chemicals that dictate our mood, our focus, we always think of them as brain-centric, but they're largely brewed in our gut. It sounds like this hidden control center, doing way more than just digestion. This fundamentally changes how we might approach mental well-being. So if this connection is so strong, how exactly might poor gut health sabotage our mental capabilities? This is where it gets really important for, our daily lives.
Yeah, this is critical. The source material details 4 specific ways an unhealthy gut impacts the brain. First, there's brain fog and memory issues.
Okay, I think many people can relate to that.
Definitely. An imbalanced gut can lead to systemic inflammation all through the body. This inflammation essentially puts a fog over your neural pathways, right? It disrupts neuronal activity, makes it harder to focus, retain information, just stay sharp.
So it's not just a feeling, it's biological.
It's a real biological slowdown, yes. Second, significant connections to mood disorders. Like we just mentioned, over 90% of serotonin, your main feel-good neurotransmitter,
90%.
is produced in the gut. So an unhealthy microbiome can seriously reduce these levels, which contributes directly to anxiety, irritability, maybe even depression.
Wow.
Third, poor sleep. That's a common one, too. Gut imbalances can interfere with melatonin production.
It's the sleep hormone.
Exactly, making it harder to fall asleep or maybe stay asleep, which, of course, just makes cognitive function worse the next day. It's a vicious cycle. And finally, if we connect this to the bigger picture, there's toxin buildup.
Toxins? How?
Well, a compromised gut barrier, often called leaky gut, basically it can allow toxins to seep out of the gut and into your bloodstream.
Oh, that sounds bad.
It's not great. These toxins can then travel up and reach the brain, and there they contribute to neuroinflammation, that's inflammation inside the brain itself. And the source material explicitly links this to early cognitive decline and even conditions like Alzheimer's.
So all those times I've felt like I'm wading through mental mud or searching for a word that's right there, it might not just be lack of sleep. It could literally be my gut sending out an SOS.
Right.
That's quite a wake-up call.
Okay. So for anyone listening right now, how can they start to recognize these signals? What are the common signs that your gut might be affecting your brain?
Well, our sources give some clear indicators to watch out for. You might be experiencing gut-brain issues if you frequently notice things like bloating, gas, maybe irregular bowel movement.
Digestive stuff.
Right, the obvious ones. But also frequent headaches or that persistent mental fatigue, feeling anxious or low, maybe for no clear reason that you can pinpoint. often having difficulty concentrating or just zoning out a lot.
And even things like sugar cravings or feeling really low energy specifically after you eat. These can all be subtle, yeah, but persistent signals from your gut saying something's not quite right.
It really paints a picture, doesn't it? For anyone listening, if they're ticking off a few of those boxes, it suddenly becomes less about what's wrong with me and maybe more about what's going on with my gut. So the good news here is that if our gut is impacting our brain, then improving gut health seems like one of the best things we can do for our cognitive health. Where do we start? What are the actionable steps our sources outline for improving gut health?
It is a very hopeful picture, actually, because there's a lot we can do. The sources outline several key steps. First, focus on what you eat. Obvious, maybe, but crucial. Incorporate more prebiotics and probiotics.
Okay, define those quickly for us.
Sure. Prebiotics, you find those in foods like garlic, onions, bananas. They basically feed the good bacteria already in your gut, help them thrive. Probiotics, you get those from things like yogurt, kimchi, other fermented foods. They replenish your gut with beneficial microbes.
Got it. Feed and replenish.
Exactly. Second, manage stress. Chronic stress is a huge factor. It really alters your gut microbiota and increases that gut permeability, the leakiness.
Right.
So practices like meditation, deep breathing, even just spending time in nature. Our sources recommend these as beneficial for both the gut and the mind. Third, avoid gut-damaging foods. Seems straightforward, but
What specifically?
the advice is to cut back on things like sugar, artificial sweeteners, processed oils, excessive alcohol, and also be mindful of antibiotic overuse, as that can wipe out good bacteria too. Finally, this raises an important question. What can we do, like right now? You could consider targeted supplements.
Supplements, like what?
Well, the sources mention gut health supplements that include things like L-glutamine, digestive enzymes, zinc, magnesium, and also adaptogens. Those are natural substances that help your body adapt to stress. These have shown promise, according to the sources, in restoring the gut lining, reducing inflammation, and improving nutrient absorption.
Okay, interesting. Now, it's worth noting that our source material, it also goes beyond general principles. It delves into specific examples of how these gut-brain ideas are being applied in products. Can you tell us what the source highlights about one such example? It's called CogniCare Pro.
Certainly. So, according to the source material we looked at, CogniCare Pro is presented primarily for its memory-enhancing and focus-boosting properties, but the source emphasizes what it calls its holistic formulation, stating it includes gut-friendly ingredients designed to enhance the gut-brain axis.
So connecting back directly.
Exactly. For instance, the source claims L-theanine is in there, saying it calms the nervous system and supports neurotransmitter production. Magnesium is included, according to the source, for reducing inflammation and supporting gut lining integrity. Ginger root extract is described as a natural digestive aid with anti-inflammatory properties. There's also Bacopa monnieri, which the source highlights for enhancing brain function while simultaneously supporting gut harmony. And finally, vitamin B complex is noted as essential for both gut bacteria and brain metabolism.
So a whole complex of ingredients targeting both sides of the axis.
That's how the source presents it, yes. It concludes by suggesting you explore CogniCare Pro today to experience sharper focus, balanced mood, and whole-body wellness. And it encourages listeners to try CogniCare Pro as part of your daily routine, calling it a natural, research-backed formula that supports both. Again, that's the information coming directly from the source material.
Understood. Okay, that brings us towards wrapping up. We often treat the brain like this, isolated organ, floating in our skulls, separate from everything else. But the truth is, as we've explored today, your brain is really only as healthy as the ecosystem it lives in. And your gut, well, it turns out it's a critical part of that control center.
Exactly. It's a profound connection. If you're out there struggling with brain fog or unexplained mood swings, persistent mental fatigue, the problem might not just be in your head, right? It could very well be starting in your gut. And starting by healing your digestive health, that can lead to feeling surprisingly sharper, calmer, more energetic. Our source wraps it up with a really powerful statement. Give your gut what it needs, and your brain will thank you.
Give your gut what it needs, and your brain will thank you. I like that. It's incredible to think how interconnected these systems really are, isn't it? To consider that rethinking your daily choices for gut health, that might just be the most impactful step you can take for your overall cognitive vitality. So maybe something to reflect on. Think about the signals your own body is sending, and consider how balancing your inner ecosystem, how that might truly transform your entire mental landscape. Something to think about.